On News Hour tonight. 13 hunters killed, telecom mast destroyed in militant ambush in Sokoto. Youths protests in Abuja demand Very Dark Man's release. Stakeholders react to political developments in Nigeria, warning of one-party system. And on the foreign scene, International Court of Justice throws out Sudan genocide case against UAE. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. We begin with security matters. 13 hunters are feared dead after suspected Lakurawa militants ambushed a seasonal hunting group in Hurumi Forest of Tangaza local government area of Sokoto State. The hunters from Tangaza and Wadabawa local government areas were attacked during an annual expedition despite warnings of insecurity in the area. Only 3 bodies have so far been recovered, with 10 others still missing. A day later, the militants launched another assault on Mongoho village. Although the military repelled the initial attack and recovered stolen livestock, the group returned and destroyed a telecommunications mast, cutting off mobile network access. Meanwhile, in Adamawa State, 10 hunters and civilian JTF members were killed in a separate Boko Haram ambush near Sambisa Forest. Despite ongoing violence, military officials say progress is being made in restoring security across northern Nigeria. Armed bandits have killed an undisclosed number of persons in the Gwana district of the Alkaleri local government area of Bauchi State. The bandits were said to have launched a deadly attack early Sunday morning in Mansur village located in the district. Unconfirmed local sources said more than 11 people were killed, though the police have not confirmed the exact numbers of casualties. In a statement by the police public relations officer, CSP Ahmad Wakil, the Bauchi State Police Command confirmed that the attack occurred at about 5:40 a.m. on May 4th, when a combined team of professional hunters from Duguri and Gwana districts were ambushed by armed bandits, leading to a fierce confrontation. The hunters were said to be on a routine patrol in Dajin Madam Forest near the Bauchi Plateau border, where they were attacked. According to the police, the ambush resulted in several fatalities, including members of the local vigilante group and civilians. It was learned that following the reports made to the Alkaleri Divisional Police Headquarters, tactical teams were immediately deployed to the scene to secure the area and recover the bodies. 2 vigilantes have been reportedly killed while 1 other was injured in a gun battle with bandits in Wamba, Mariga local government area of Niger State. Reports say the bandits, who were sighted in large numbers on motorcycles, were confronted by vigilantes, leading to casualties. The chairman, Mariga local government area, Abbas Kaswan Garba, who confirmed the incident on phone, said a joint security team has been deployed to take control and protect communities from invasion. He said the injured vigilante is being treated at the hospital. A resident of the area, Hassan Sanusi, said bandits numbering about 300 were sighted on motorcycles around 1 p.m. on Monday, with each bike carrying 2 persons with sophisticated weapons crossing the Kontagora to Tegina Road, somewhere between Kampanimbobi and Wanba in Mariga local government area. He said travelers were stranded at Kampanimbobi, saying that some people had returned to Kontagora for their own safety. When contacted, the Niger State Commissioner for Homeland Security, Brigadier General Bello Abdullahi, retired, confirmed the movement of bandits, but said while security operatives were on their trail, he was yet to get the full detail of their encounter. Bandits have reportedly killed 1 Lami who was kidnapped alongside her husband, Yakubu Dada, along the Kontagora Road in Niger State on October 31, 2024. The abductors, who had earlier collected a 10 million naira ransom from the family, are now demanding an additional 20 million naira and 4 Bajaj motorcycles, threatening to kill Dada if their demands are not met. Trust TV reported that Yakubu Dada, a resident of the brighter area of Mina and a retired civil servant, was kidnapped a few kilometers to Kontagora alongside his youngest wife while traveling to Kontagora on October 31st, 2024. They have spent over 6 months in captivity. His eldest wife, Maimuna, said the family had sold nearly all their belongings, including the family house, 2 cars, beds, televisions and other valuables to raise the initial 10 million naira ransom, which was paid in November. She said after collecting the 10 million naira, bandits demanded for additional 60 million naira, but later reduced it to 20 million naira and 4 Bajaj motorcycles, which the family had not been able to raise since November 2024. She added that despite the payment, Lami was killed on Sunday. Maimuna called on the Niger state government and security agencies to intervene and rescue their husband. Gunmen suspected to be herdsmen on Sunday night hijacked a commercial vehicle along the Otupo-Adoka Road in Benue State, killing the driver and abducting all passengers on board. The incident occurred around 11 p.m. as the vehicle was en route to Otupo from Abuja. Eyewitnesses said the attackers opened fire as soon as they sighted the vehicle, causing the driver to lose control and veer off the road into nearby bushes after being hit by a bullet. The assailants subsequently abducted all the passengers before abandoning the vehicle at the scene. The body of the slain driver, identified as a native of Adoka, has been recovered and taken to his hometown. Meanwhile, military personnel have arrived at the scene and launched a manhunt for the attackers. A 24-year-old man, Shaibu Muhammad, was reportedly killed on Monday following an armed robbery attack at Dambare area opposite the Bayero University new campus in Kano State. An eyewitness and close friend to the deceased, Haruna Nuhu Hussein, explained that contrary to rumors that the deceased is a student of Bayero University, Kano, Shaibu was a businessman living with students in Dambare. Haruna also disclosed that the suspect who was apprehended is well known in the area for repeated criminal activity. As at press time, the police were yet to issue an official statement on the incident.
At the time of Subhi prayer, 4 of our housemates had already left for the mosque. Since there are 9 of us living here, 5 of us remained at home. I was asleep, and when I woke up, I suddenly saw someone with a raised cutlass. They had entered our house pretending they wanted to borrow a prayer mat. When I came out, I saw that they had stabbed one of my housemates, Shaibu, and he was lying dead on the floor. The person we managed to apprehend is a known repeat offender, according to about 10 people.
Abuja have converged on the headquarters of Guarantee Trust Bank to demand the release of social media influencer Martins Otse, popularly known as Very Dark Man. The demonstrators, who gathered in large numbers on Monday, chanted "Free Very Dark Man" while holding placards with inscriptions such as "Activism is not a sin," "VDM is the masses liberator," and "VDM has committed no offense." VDM was reported to have been arrested on May 2nd by the EFCC following some petitions it received against him. He was said to be in the custody of the EFCC as of the time of filing the report, but the protesters described VDM's arrest and detention as illegal.
There was a conspiracy on Friday between GT Bank and whatsoever the government agency. We don't know whether it's DSS, EFCC, although many have opinion that VDB is EFCC has detained VDM, but up to now there was no press statement, there was no press release, there was no statement from either DSS or EFCC, whether EFCC is in their custody or not. What we've been hearing is rumor, and at the same time, the manner in which VDM was kidnapped, VDM was not arrested. There's no way you come to arrest somebody, a Nigerian citizen, in fact, so popular like VDM, without any arrest warrant, no invitation, no text message, and you came to smuggle him inside car, inside vehicle. If that thing wouldn't have casted, then VDM maybe wouldn't have been alive today. They came to kidnap VDM, and we knew that these people are government officials because there are people who don't want progress in this country.
And we are demanding immediate release of VDM. VDM is not a criminal. If GTB or the federal government feel that he has committed any offense, they have all the time, all the apparatus to invite him or to call him.
Yes.
Not to kidnap him at this very point.
Like a town.
So what we are demanding for unconditional release of VDM. Nothing but that is it.
Meanwhile, the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has called for the release of popular rights activist and social media influencer Martins Vincent Otse, also known as Very Dark Man VDM. Otse was reportedly arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on May 2nd, following some petitions it received against him. However, Atiku, in a post on X, said the arrest and continued detention of the social media influencer, an outspoken critic by the EFCC, was another blatant abuse of power by the Tinubu administration, which has made political repression a hallmark of its rule. The former vice president said it was more alarming that Otse remained in custody without any formal charges in a flagrant violation of his constitutional rights. This, he said, was a chilling reminder of the growing authoritarianism under this government. The PDP chieftain also described the government's systematic crackdown on opposition voices as disgraceful and an affront to democratic norms that must be fiercely condemned and resisted. Now, students under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, on Monday blocked the ever-busy Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to protest against the alleged misappropriation of 100 billion naira allocated to the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, by the federal government. The protest, staged in the neighborhood of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG camp, Mowe, Ogun State, led to the blockade of both sides of the expressways, resulting in heavy traffic gridlock as the vehicular movement on both sides of the expressways was brought to a halt for more than 1 hour. All pleas by security agencies, particularly the divisional police officer from the Mowe Division, CSP, Efeniforo Folake, for the protesting students to leave the expressway fell on deaf ears. Addressing newsmen, NAN's National Vice President, Intercampus and Gender Affairs and the Ogun State Chairman of the Association, Shileola Felicia and Gabriel Abiola Francis, respectively explained that the choice of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway was to impress it on President Bola Tinubu to take decisive action on the alleged graft discovered in the disbursement of student loans. The Independent Corrupt Practices Commission and Related Offences, ICPC, had in a statement by its spokesperson, Demola Bakare, last Thursday, said that the anti-graft agency had launched a comprehensive investigation into discrepancies in the NEL Fund student loan disbursements. Stakeholders in Nigeria's political landscape have attributed the recent wave of defections by elected officials from opposition parties to the ruling party to disregard for democratic ideals, selfish interests, coercion, and the increasing grip of state capture by the ruling elite. A political party leader, an official of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), and a political analyst speaking against the backdrop of the ongoing defections warned that the trend could steer the country toward a one-party system, shrink electoral choices, and weaken democratic competition. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
While Section 40 of the Nigerian Constitution guarantees freedom of association and assembly, that right is not absolute, especially concerning the arbitrary defection of elected representatives, except under constitutionally defined circumstances. The recent mass defection in Delta State, where the sitting governor, state assembly members, and the entire PDP structure switched allegiance to the APC, has triggered alarm across the political space, raising questions about political coercion and abuse of state institutions.
simply because all those institutions that you rely upon for you to now enjoy the democracy itself, have been hijacked by one individual who in most cases is also a participant in that in the elections. Is it whether it is at the state level you want to look at, the governor or the party in power is a participant.
It is very unfortunate, and what you are saying are not politics based on ideology, just based on they are running for cover, for protection, because they've soiled their hands in the course of presiding over the collective patrimony of the people. So they are running for cover, for protection, because I don't know if you can still recall very vividly, January 19 or 18, to be very precise, 2019, Oshomole said, and I quote, that if you cross carpet, or rather if you come to APC, if you are once a sinner, your sins are forgiven.
We can't control how political actors move or participate in any political party of their choice. Our responsibility is to monitor, supervise, register, deregister all political parties and be responsive to all that concerns them.
Though defections are not new in Nigerian politics, stakeholders argue that their persistent abuse for personal gain undermines the credibility of opposition parties and places undue pressure on electoral institutions, especially in the lead-up to national elections.
Appeal to every well-meaning Nigerian. For me, I don't have any passport of any other country. I only have a passport of that, the green passport. So for me, my mission is to make sure that we have a society where you and I will have freedom of speech and freedom after speech.
It capture is a reality in our climate. If you think it's not, you are just deceiving yourself, and that will be at your peril to ignore it. Added to that, you have primordial sentiments that are also already part and parcel of our polity.
Since Nigeria is a party, like a country that we are practicing multi-party system, not one-party system, so it will not be good for any harassment or intimidation or anything whatsoever that may push a particular person to cross carpet.
They emphasize the need for citizens to demand accountability, uphold institutional integrity, and safeguard Nigeria's democracy from erosion, particularly as the country looks ahead to future elections. Shabbir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Bola Tinubu has ordered a ban on importation of foreign goods, especially those that can be produced locally in Nigeria. Tinubu also placed a caveat on expatriates coming into Nigeria to execute jobs which local contractors and artisans can undertake unless there is convincing justification for it, including express permission from the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, made the disclosure shortly thereafter the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by the President at the Council chambers of the Presidential Villa on Monday. According to Idris, Tinubu, in a landmark decision which is aimed at strengthening Nigeria's domestic economy and promoting local content, approved a sweeping new policy framework tagged the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy. Idris described the policy as a bold shift in the country's economic approach. He said it mirrors U.S. President Donald Trump's America First doctrine. The information minister also noted that the policy places Nigeria at the center of all public procurement and business activity, with a strong emphasis on empowering local industries and reducing dependency on foreign imports. The minister disclosed that the Attorney General of the Federation has been directed to draft an executive order to give full legal effect to the new framework. On Trust TV, coming up ahead. Zamfara communities urge federal government crack down on illegal mining driving insecurity. This and many more when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. 13 hunters killed, telecom mast destroyed in militant ambushed in Sokoto. And youths protest in Abuja demand Very Dark Man's release. Moving on to more stories, the Senate has announced plans to work closely with the executive to address socio-political tensions, particularly the crisis in Rivers State. According to a statement issued on Monday ahead of resumption of plenary at the National Assembly, Leader of the Senate, Opeyemi Bamidele, stated that the goal is to reconcile key stakeholders and resolve underlying issues in the broader interest of national stability and reconciliation across the country. The statement added that as lawmakers resume, they will first of all consider the tax reform bills 2024. The Senate also raised concern over the resurgence of insecurity in states such as Benue, Borno, Katsina, and Plateau. In light of this, Bamidele hinted that the legislature would intensify consultations with security agencies to develop new strategies aimed at tackling terrorism and restoring peace across affected regions. The National Assembly has urged the Supreme Court of Nigeria to dismiss the suit filed by 11 governors from the People's Democratic Party challenging the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. In its response, it contended that the suit was procedurally flawed and lacked merit. It further argued that the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suit and should award 1 billion naira in costs against the plaintiffs for filing what it termed a frivolous and speculative suit. Declaring that it holds a memorandum of conditional appearance, the National Assembly argued that due process was not followed in instituting the suit, emphasizing that the plaintiffs failed to issue the required 3-month precaution notice to the Clerk of the National Assembly as mandated under Section 21 of the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act 2017. Additionally, NAS argued that the plaintiffs did not secure resolutions from their respective state houses of assembly, a prerequisite for approaching the Supreme Court under its original jurisdiction, provisions outlined in the Supreme Court Original Jurisdiction Act 2002. The administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, has charged participants of Senior Course 47 of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, AFCSC Jaji, to ensure that their study tour reports provide practical solutions to the pressing security challenges facing the nation. The administrator gave the charge when the Senior Course 47 participants paid him a courtesy visit at the Government House in Port Harcourt on Monday. Represented by the Secretary to the State Government, SSG Ibibia Warika, retired Vice Admiral Ibas emphasized the significance of their study tour to Rivers State. He stressed the importance of gathering credible intelligence to address insecurity, noting that security challenges negatively impact economic productivity, reduce government's revenue, and deter investments. In his address, the team leader and director of logistics at AFCSC Jaji, Commodore S.O. Abdurrahim, explained that his team is one of 9 groups currently on a study tour across selected states in Nigeria. The tour is part of this year's research on the Nigerian environment as it relates to national security concerns.
To further give the college an international character, the Armed Forces of Nigeria and her Ghanaian and South African counterparts established a military exchange program which has included the participation of officers from the Ghanaian Armed Forces as well as the South African Defense Forces as both students and instructors or directing staff in the college. At the national level, the college also trains officers from paramilitary organizations and ministries, departments, and agencies. These include officers from the Nigerian Immigration Service, the Customs, Department of State Services, Correctional Service, as well as Federal Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Nigeria Police, and the Defense Intelligence Agency, amongst others. As part of the curriculum of this senior staff course, the students are made to study the Nigerian environment, and the study begins with the Nigeria Study Tour, which is an environmental study tour of selected states in Nigeria.
As we embark on the interactive meetings with the security agencies and other relevant stakeholders, I urge you not to make the study tour a mere academic odyssey, but practical and operational in all facets of security applications. I am therefore confident that the study will add to scholarship and contribute to the robust security architecture required for a safe and secure River State. May I assure you that the recommendations and findings of the study which shall be implemented to the letter, as we are optimistic that studies of this nature shall, without fail, address the challenges of insecurity to national development.
Now, a robust and independent media is fundamental to a healthy democracy, hence securing its long-term viability requires a comprehensive approach encompassing economic stability, legal protections, and varied funding sources, all while upholding journalistic ethics and public trust. To address these critical issues, Channels Academy, in partnership with the United States Diplomatic Mission in Nigeria and the JSM Foundation, hosted a two-day media CEO workshop centered on media innovation and sustainable business models. Trust TV's Noel Sampson has more.
Nigeria's leading media executives convened for a two-day workshop focused on the role of leadership in navigating industry disruptions and exploring innovative storytelling methods. The outcomes are meant to chart a way forward for sustainability of the media landscape in Nigeria, which has faced financial and other regulatory challenges over the years. The core objectives of the workshop were also presented.
This workshop comes at a defining moment of the media industry. We are facing profound disruption. Audiences are shifting, technologies are evolving, and traditional business models are no longer sufficient. But in every challenge, there is an opportunity.
Your discussions this week on journalism innovation, sustainable media business are vitally important to Nigeria's future as a democracy.
It's not just about digitizing print. We have to really think about what does a digital revolution look like? How do we think digital first from the ground up? What does it mean to be a media leader today? Actually, not just in theory, but in practice.
Several participants are hopeful that the media workshop's outcome will address the key areas identified during panel discussions.
So the very first thing is to understand that environment that will enable journalism to work very well is in retreat. So that's a big complication for how we'll operate, how we'll make money, and the emphasis is on the whole idea of evolving a business model meaning how businesses make money.
Well, I think it's not just a meeting, as at this level, at a strategic leader in our various media organizations, both public and private. These events such as this offer opportunity for networking, one, but more importantly, it also offers opportunity to understand both the national and global trend.
Part of the reason we're here is to talk about business models for media houses, and my expectation is that I'll learn how to transform my radio station, Democracy Radio 104.9 Abuja, into a mega money-making media firm. Because at the end of the day, it's while we're all about the values, while we're all about the mission, it's also important that we earn.
Just understanding the psyche of what people want. It's not about what we know. We claim that we know because we've been in newsrooms, we understand the news, politically, economically, we do quite a lot. But these people might not be interested in what we are familiar with. So it's just to understand their psyche, probably provide content that actually suits them better, but also looking at the platforms, they use that content more. So I think I'll stop here, probably I'll elaborate further when we go ahead.
A key aspect of the first day was a panel discussion that delved into the impact of social media on youth news consumptions, shifting audience expectations and new trends in how people access news. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Residents of Zamfara State in northwest Nigeria have called for a review of the 2007 Mining Act in order to give verve to the ban on illegal mining and protect host communities and artisanal miners from the dangers of unapproved mining. The residents who made the call while speaking with Trust TV alleged that the federal government, through its appropriate authorities, aided foreigners to excavate minerals, leaving communities suffering under adverse impacts. The report.
Illegal mining activities pose several hazards to the miners and host communities. It was responsible for the lead poisoning which happened in year 2010 and claimed the lives of over 500 children. Other hazards include environmental degradation, health risk, depriving youths of acquiring education, child labor, and host community not benefiting from royalties. Some residents of Zamfara State alleged that the ban on mining activities is a mere policy statement, as the federal government has failed to enforce the ban while it allows foreigners and some Nigerians to engage in activities illegally, causing insecurity in communities to enable them to have free access to their lands.
If you look at the mining act we are using, it was passed into law in 2007, almost 20-something years now. Therefore, in a situation whereby the legislation is not in place, and even if it is in place, it is not enforced. Like Zamfara State, we have a mining field office, but if you go and check how many officers do they have, virtually in almost all the 14 local governments in Zamfara State, we have abundant gold deposit, and the people, both unregulated and the artisanal miners, are doing these activities, including the expatriates, the Chinese, Burkinabes, and other African countries. They are doing this job.
The mining activity is a very big problem because it has two different ways, two different things. One, we know some people are going there legally, while some other people are going there illegally. When they are here without permission, without signed agreement with the state and the federal government per se. And from that activity, you have seen from then, many things happen. One, it caused a lot of high insecurity from that place. Some people are coming there with the hard drugs. Some people are now turned into some banditry activities because it's a way of engaging many different youths participating into this activity.
They want the federal and Zamfara state government to take drastic measures to regulate the activities of illegal miners, impacting adversely on host communities and ensure they benefit from accrued royalties.
Survival allowed us to survive. They are no longer asking for compensation of their land. They are no longer asking for social corporate responsibilities. Therefore, what do they benefit? It just brings insecurity, displacement, social and environmental hazard, and other social vices that is still affecting the development of Zamfara State.
With this, I know it's in line with the state government procedure to put a sanction on this mining activity by providing licensing to the mining activity people, giving their permission, giving the authorization letter, taking all your contacts to know this is where you come from, where you are going to do, how you can engage our people to avoid this kind of challenges.
The Permanent Secretary of Zamfara State Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, Rilwanu Musa, said the government is not engaging in mining, but sensitizing artisanal miners, preparing them ready to when the federal government will come up with standard operating procedures.
And now in the northeast, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has announced plans to close down the Muna Internally Displaced Persons IDP camp in Maiduguri within the next few weeks. The governor announced this during an early morning visit to the camp on Monday. Zulum said the decision to shut down the camp was in line with his administration's ongoing efforts to close all formal IDP camps within Maiduguri and its environs. The Muna camp, established at the height of the humanitarian crisis in the state, currently hosts about 10,000 displaced persons. The governor, however, noted that about 75% of its residents had already been resettled. He assured the remaining inhabitants that the government would provide support to improve their means of livelihood as they prepare to return to their communities.
About 4 years ago, we made an announcement that all IDP camps, formal IDP camps within Metropolitan Council will be closed. So far, so good, we have closed all, about 12 of them. Remaining 2 informal camps. This camp initially was an informal camp, but you have seen the population. We will never eradicate insurgency without resettlement people, because people will go back to their homes so that they will earn their means of livelihood by themselves. There is increasing prostitution here. There is increasing child abuse here, gangsterism among others. So the only way that we can ensure that we address the challenges of insecurity by ensuring that the socio-political dimension of the crisis is being addressed. It's not easy, but let me acknowledge the support that we are receiving from the federal government. The federal government itself knows very well. I want to commend the federal government and I want to commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the support that we have been receiving so far from him that has complemented the efforts of the state government. We remain eternally grateful to the federal government.
The controversy over the leadership succession in Fufore local government area of Adamawa State has been resolved with the official swearing in of Peace Audu as a substantive chairperson of the council. The swearing-in ceremony was conducted by Governor Ahmadu Umar Fintiri at the Government House in Yola. Trust TV's Gibson Sawadugo reports.
Following the death of the elected chairman of Fufore local government, a succession dispute arose and lingered for weeks. The delay in swearing in the vice chairperson, as constitutionally required, sparked public debate, especially online, with many interpreting the situation as politically motivated rather than procedural. Those concerns have now been laid to rest as Governor Fintiri officially administered the oath of office to Peace Audu, affirming her as a legitimate chairperson of Fufore local government.
All the concern was not because of Mrs. Peace, was not for Mrs. Peace to be chairman of Fufore. The concern was to score a point that I'm here for Christians, I'm representing Christians' interests. This was the language being put out there by all those that were making noise. And as far as we're concerned, religion, tribe is not part of this government. We have treated every assembly fairly, and that is why the state can witness peace and development.
Governor Fintiri explained that due process was followed, noting that Audu had served in an acting capacity during the late chairman's illness, ensuring leadership continuity. He emphasized his administration's commitment to justice and inclusion, stressing that his government will not entertain tribal or religious discrimination.
I would want you to use your status as a mother to ensure that you bring everybody together in that local level. Yes. You bring development, you bring peace, yes. You bring unity. Ensure that your responsibility is to see that the security of lives and property of everybody in that local government is properly taken care of.
In our response, Peace Audu expressed deep appreciation to the governor, pledged loyalty to his administration, and assured the people of Fufore of transparent and responsive leadership.
I want to promise you, I will not fail you by the grace of God. I will follow you step by step, precept by precept, and I will give you 100% loyalty, sir.
The oath of office and allegiance was administered by the Chief Judge of Adamawa State, Justice Hafsat Abdurrahman. During the ceremony, Governor Fintiri also announced Salimanu as the new vice chairman of the council. Gibson Soadugo, Trust TV News, Yola.
Away from the northeast, operatives of the Kaduna Zonal Directorate of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) have apprehended a social media content creator, Muhammad Kabir Saad, over allegations of abusing Nigeria's national currency. Saad, known online by the handle YoungC0066 on TikTok and Instagram, sparked outrage after he shared a video in which he was seen recklessly throwing Naira notes on the floor, stepping on them and taunting anti-corruption officials. In the video, he boldly challenged EFCC operatives in Hausa, daring them to arrest him if they can. The provocative act, widely circulated on social media, drew the attention of the EFCC, prompting an investigation. Acting swiftly, operatives located and arrested Saad in the Tudunwada area of Kaduna State through intelligence surveillance. He was taken into custody and is currently being interrogated at the Commission's Kaduna Zonal Directorate. A statement released by the EFCC confirmed that Saad will be charged to court upon the conclusion of investigation. Now, residents of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have raised concerns over the safety of the old Makurdi Bridge following the imminent closure of the new bridge for construction of the Wurukum flyover. For many residents and motorists, crossing to the southern part of the Benue capital through the old bridge portends potential danger to lives following wear and tear on the old bridge. In this report, our correspondent takes a look at the old bridge and its safety for commuters. The report.
This is the old Makurdi Bridge, constructed in 1932 as the major link between the northwestern part of Nigeria and the south. More than 50 years ago, the bridge was one of the wonders of technology in the north central, through which trains and cars ferried heavy-duty cargo and goods. Its burden gradually increased till the construction of a new bridge brought the needed relief for both the bridge and commuters. Till date, the old bridge is actually the shortest route to the North Bank Timber Market, Water Board, North Bank Main Market, and Asme Barracks when coming from the southern path of the metropolis through Wadata area of Makurdi town. However, checks reveal that over the years, the structure has gradually suffered much wear and tear, and the condition has become deplorable. More concerning is that this bridge will soon become the only alternative route connecting Makurdi north and south, especially when the federal government begins construction on the already approved flyover the busy Wurukum roundabout.
The road is very bad because if you can see both sides of the distance, the rail that is guiding the distance has been stolen. So there is no particular place to pass aside here. If that road is being blocked and here is not being maintained and all this is, there will be so many casualties here. And so if the government can really work on this thing, the rail, if they can fix this thing so that people can pass conveniently and security wise, again, this place is not advisable passing once it comes to night.
Like some of the things they used back then to separate or to stop oncoming traffic, those metal rods keep sticking out here and there. So a lot of people sometimes, like especially bikers now, if you're not careful, you easily just go down.
This road is a shortest road to town. If you're going to town, it's the shortest road that everybody can pass. But the major thing is that the road is not good, and the road needs to repair before any other thing.
Efforts to speak with the Benue State Minister of Works, Housing and Urban Development for comment were not successful. However, many are of the opinion that concerned authorities, especially the federal government, can take quick action to save the important Makurdi Old Bridge from becoming a mirage. This, they said, will be for the good of Nigerians.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. More news after the break. Many thanks for staying with us. In case you just joined in, this is News Hour on Trust TV. And now in business, Africa's richest man and president of Dangote Refinery, Atiku Dangote, has insisted that the cabal in Nigeria's oil and gas sector is still fighting against the success of his 650,000 barrels per day plant. Dangote disclosed this according to Semaphore, a global news platform, at an investor forum in Lagos at the weekend. He further stressed that those groups have funded resistance to the Bola Tinubu government's removal of petrol subsidies and are opposed to the refinery operating easily in the country. However, Dangote was confident that the battle between him and the groups would be won, priding himself on being a long-time fighter. Recall that Dangote Refinery kicked off the sale of petrol in September 2024, which has led to a significant drop in fuel imports into Nigeria. American media stocks fell on Monday after President Donald Trump unveiled a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the U.S., when implemented, the increase could sharply raise costs for Hollywood studios and rattle the global entertainment industry. Trump's announcement was short on details, as he did not say whether the levies would target films on streaming platforms and those shown in theaters, nor did it specify if the tariffs would be calculated based on production costs or box office revenue. American movies generated $222.6 billion in exports and a trade surplus of $15.3 billion in 2023, according to the American Motion Picture and Television Industry. A survey conducted by ProdPro among studio executives regarding their preferred production locations for 2025 to 2026, it showed that the top 5 choices were all outside the U.S. Streaming pioneer Netflix could particularly be at risk, analysts say, as it relies on its global production network to produce content for international audiences. Its shares fell 4.9% in pre-market action, leading a slide in media stocks. Away from Nigeria, the top United Nations court on Monday threw out Sudan's case against the United Arab Emirates over alleged complicity in genocide during the brutal Sudanese civil war. Sudan had taken the UAE to the International Court of Justice, saying its alleged support for the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, was contributing to a genocide, accusations strongly denied by the Emiratis. But the ICJ said it manifestly lacked jurisdiction to rule on the case and threw it out. A UAE official hailed the judge's ruling. Since April 2023, Sudan has been torn apart by a power struggle between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the commander of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The war has triggered what aid agencies describe as the world's largest displacement and hunger crisis. Famine has officially hit 5 areas across Sudan, according to a UN-backed assessment.
Conclusion that it manifestly lacks jurisdiction, the court is precluded by its statute from taking any position on the merits of the claims made by Sudan.
Hundreds of militants from radical Togolese opposition parties, including the National Alliance for Change, ANC, and Democratic Forces for the Republic, FDR, both parliamentary parties, alongside several civil society organizations, gathered at a rally on Sunday in the Togolese capital to denounce what they described as a forced transition to parliamentary system. This shift, they argued, was orchestrated by the regime of President Faure, who has now become the de facto chairman of the Council of Ministers. President Faure was designated and endorsed as chairman of the Council of Ministers under the new parliamentary arrangement on 3rd May 2025 by a parliament dominated by the ruling Union for the Republic UNIR party, composed of members of the National Assembly and the newly established Senate. According to the radical opposition, the move from a presidential to a parliamentary system undertaken without a national referendum constitutes an authoritarian strategy designed to extend Faure's grip on power beyond the expiration of his term, which officially ended on 3rd May. His term followed the 2020 elections conducted under the 2019 Constitution, which had imposed term limits. All 133 Catholic cardinals eligible to vote for a new pope have arrived in Rome, the Vatican confirmed on Monday ahead of the conclave beginning this week. They will enter into seclusion in the Sistine Chapel at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, voting in secret until one of them secures the required 2/3 majority to become the next head of the Roman Catholic Church. Summoned following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st, the group, representing 70 countries across 5 continents, is the largest and most diverse conclave in the Church's history. At stake is the direction of the Catholic Church, a 2,000-year-old institution with huge global influence but which is battling to adapt to the modern world and recover its reputation after the scandal of widespread child sex abuse by priests. The 133 so-called princes of the church who will vote, all those aged under 80 minus 2 who are absent for health reasons, will gather on Wednesday afternoon under the frescoed splendor of the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican, voting once that day and 4 times a day thereafter until a pope is chosen. They will stay at the nearby Santa Marta guest house, but are forbidden from contacting the outside world until they have made their choice. It's now time for sports updates with Kabir Lawal.
With just 11 days until the 22nd National Sports Festival dubbed the Gateway Games kicks off in Abeokuta, Ogun State, anticipation continues to soar. One of the most compelling storylines emerging is that the invited junior athletes IJA, introduced by the National Sports Commission NSC as a bold innovation, the IJA concept was born out of the need to nurture the nation's brightest young sports prospects. This unprecedented step by the National Sports Commission NSC means that promising junior athletes identified through the National Youth Games will now have the opportunity to participate with elite professionals from across the country. This approach offers an invaluable mentorship opportunity, allowing young athletes to train, compete and learn directly from the nation's top performer. Still on sport news, the Nigerian junior swim team ended their campaign at the African Swimming Junior Championships on a high, securing 3 gold and a bronze at the championship. Abdul-Jabbar Adama racked up all the medals for Nigeria in the championship. He broke the championship record twice on his way to gold medal in the 50 meters butterfly with a time of 24.19 seconds in the heats and 23.89 in the finals. Adama also broke the Africa record in the 50-meter freestyle at the championship with a high of 22.24 seconds, beating the previous record of 22.65 seconds. Another swimmer, Kashop Obatoyibo, who also qualified, was in the final even though he didn't win a medal. He came 6th, surpassing his personal best time to put up 23.92. Adama clinched his final gold in 100 meters freestyle with a time of 26.64 to make it 3 for Nigeria at the 16th African Junior Swimming Championship in Egypt. That's Sport News. I am Kabir Lawal.
And with that, we wrap up News Hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news and documentaries. My name is Dorcas Yakubuzala. Goodbye.